Momentum is picking up for Matthew Stafford to get traded away from the Rams. Here's 3 teams that he could end up landing with. First, we have to talk about the New York Giants. They have been one of the most favored options for Stafford to end up getting traded to. They recently just hired his brother-in-law to the coaching staff. And also, the Giants are extremely desperate to find their next quarterback. Even if it is a 37-year-old QB who's probably only got 3 or 4 more years left, Giants need something. They need a reason to, 1, spark a little bit of excitement into the fan base, and 2, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen need to also do something to save their jobs. Matthew Stafford is good enough of a starting quarterback that if he steps in with New York with the defense that they have, they would be a playoff team. They would compete with the Commanders and the Eagles for the NFC East. The Cowboys, not in the conversation. We're not even going to entertain that. But the Giants have the roster that if they drafted effectively in this draft, and if they didn't have to give up the 3rd overall pick, that they could end up having another quality receiver in the 2nd round, another premier defensive player 3rd overall, that they could really run headfirst into a wild card spot in 2025. The odds currently sit for the Giants at plus 400, and I would consider that being the best possible option. For some reason, by the way, on sportsbetting.ag, the Minnesota Vikings are plus 300. I'm not touching that. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know if that is some sort of deep sourcing, if that is some sort of conspiracy theory that I'm not aware of, but I'm not putting my money towards that. The second option that makes perfect sense is for him to go to the other New York team, that being the New York Jets. Currently sitting at plus 800 odds, they have a very dynamic elite defense that did not have an offense to match for a very, very long time. Now, there's been a bit of shuffling of the talent on that defense, but the key contributors, Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, they're just at the very beginning of their promising careers. With the pick that they hold in the top 10 at 7th overall, they could get another elite defender. They could draft an offensive lineman. They're in a good position with this 2025 draft and also free agency to just round out the roster, bring in Matthew Stafford behind an underrated offensive line with Olu Fashanu, who would start this year, Tyron Smith, the fantastic veteran, that if Stafford goes in there, he's got all the pieces that he needs with Aaron Glenn leading the way for them to sneakily potentially win the AFC East, or at the very least, go to the playoffs as a wildcard team. I'd consider placing that down at plus 800 as a bet for his next team. The last one I would consider to be the most desperate, but I don't know if it'll actually come to fruition. The Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 900. Steelers have not been able to find who the next guy is since Ben Roethlisberger. They have shuffled in draft picks and backups like Mason Rudolph. They tried to get Russell Wilson to work. They tried to get Justin Fields to work, and they're starting over again. I don't think with how bad this quarterback draft class is, the Pittsburgh Steelers want to sit in this situation where they're just throwing a dart at the board, quite literally at Jackson Dart or at Jalen Milroe, hoping that will solve their problems. They might do it in the 2nd or 3rd round, but in the 1st round, they want to use their pick on a starter, fixing any small little bits and holes on maybe their offensive line, in their secondary, to continue to be an elite defense in the NFL. But they don't have a quarterback. There aren't very many options this free agency period. If they can't coax Sam Darnold into coming, are they going to go to Aaron Rodgers? It's a possible workable situation, but I'm sure that they would much rather have Matthew Stafford for the last few years of his career. They would not only stay at the level of success that they had, but they could be one of the teams of the 3 that I mentioned to take an even further step to be a consistent winner in the AFC North for the next few seasons and possibly go to the Super Bowl. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Where do you think Matthew Stafford is going to land if he leaves the Los Angeles Rams?